Hey, what's happening? What's happening? In the last few videos, I've talked about starting a Roth IRA and the importance of starting young, getting rich over long term, building wealth over long term, how to do that, some of the secrets of a Roth and things that you need to do to start that investment fund. And again, it doesn't have to be a Roth, but the idea of investing, starting young, that snowball, as Warren Buffett talked about, that snowball over time, and what starts as a small snowball rolls downhill over time. Money that you invest, compound interest, all of these things accumulate and allow you to build wealth over time. So a couple questions have come up, and we'll do a little bit of review. And like I said, in a future video, I will also walk you through opening up that Roth or another brokerage account, but specifically the Roth is what I was talking about, what I'm going to talk about a little bit more in detail. So the questions that came up, two questions really. One of them was, is now a good time to get started? Is now a good time to get started with Roth, especially in terms of the economic environment? Talks about a recession, fears, nerves, and the overall market is down. It is down somewhat significantly over the last year especially. And so we talk about this bear market and people losing money and losing their investment, and in some cases a significant amount. So the question is now a good time? My answer is going to be yes, and I'll explain why for several reasons. Now, the other question that came up was in light of the inflation, what's going on in inflation, and of course that's causing some of the economic downturn and causing some of the loss in the stock market, and the overall economic outlook is more bleak because of inflation. And so that question was, is now a good time to get started? Is now a time to invest in something like a Roth and make these investments due to inflation? And so the two questions that had come up were, is now a good time? And I'm going to answer yes and explain why and give you several reasons. Now is a good time to get started, especially if you're young, especially if you're just out of high school, college, getting started in adulthood, getting started in that job. Now is a good time to get started. I recommend the Roth, but it's the same concept would be in any 401k, mutual brokerage fund, or a 403b, or any kind of investment vehicle like that. And now is a good time to get started. I'm going to those reasons. And then the second question, in light of inflation, is now a good time because of the inflationary pressures and factors going on right now? And I'm going to explain why it is a good time. And so the answer to both those questions is yes. So first off, is now a good time to get started with the Roth or with some kind of investment vehicle, such as a 401k, 403b, some kind of savings in a brokerage fund? Now, I recommend the Roth, and I'm going to give 4 reasons why I think now is a good time to get started with the Roth. So the first reason is, obviously, with the Roth, you get all kinds of tax savings and just all kinds of tax benefits. A Roth is kind of a glorified savings account, really, in that you can put money into this Roth up to $6,000 a year. And so that magic number, and I went through in the previous video the compound interest calculator and went through the importance of compounding, how that works. And the idea there behind that is, over time, you give yourself time, that you build that snowball. And so with that Roth, you put money, let's just say it's $500 a month, $6,000 a year, put that into the Roth. That's going to grow tax-free. The benefits grow tax-free, so you're not paying tax on that over time, over 10, 20, 30, 40 years. And obviously the kind of the magic number is about 40 years, because at the age 59 and a half, you can take that out without a penalty. And so there's a major benefit there with taxes. That's the first major reason why, yes, now is a good time. The second reason is, again, going back to that key about compound interest. So with compound interest, over time, again, that idea of the snowball, and that idea, I gave that analogy of if you could make 1 penny a day, and if you took a job that paid a penny a day, and then the next day it was 2 pennies, and then the day after that it's 4 pennies, and essentially it doubles every day. And that's the idea of the compound interest. In the previous video I talked about that. And so the idea there is, and the advantage is that, yeah, with that Roth, with that investment vehicle, you get the added benefits of not only taxes, but also of the compound interest over time, and that will add up. Now, the third reason why I believe right now is a great time to get started with the Roth is that you also get the added benefit of, right now you are buying at a discount. And so the economy has taken a bit of it's a mixed bag really, but but some of the pricing in terms of the mutual funds and index funds, which I recommend specific index funds and stocks, the pricing is down. And so what you could have bought even a year ago, it's about 10% less now. A month ago, it's significantly less. And so the specific funds that I'm going to recommend you get into and look at buying, you get at a discount right now. And so there's just an added benefit there with getting started right now, because you're going to get that at a discount. And so there's several reasons to consider starting a Roth right now, and I think advantages to doing that. And then the other idea and the other advantage is that over time, it's just going to add up in the long run. It's going to benefit you in the long run. Now, the next big question that came up was, is now a good time to get started in light of inflation? And so, of course, the answer is yes. And so, in terms of inflation right now, your buying power, essentially what's happening is, if you have cash right now sitting in the bank, you're losing money on that. If you have $1,000 in the bank, let's say you have $10,000 in the bank, and like I said, you want to invest, the maximum you can invest in a Roth is $6,000 a year, under age 50. And then once you turn 50, it turns to $7,000 a year. So it's about $500 or more per month, depending on if you're under the age 50 or over age 50. So the idea there is, then if you have $5,000 or $6,000 sitting in the bank, that's gonna lose value. That's going to lose money. You're going to lose buying power with that. You're going to lose purchasing power with that. And so if it's just sitting in the bank or sitting under your couch cushion, for that matter, you're not going to be able to buy as much with that $6,000 1 year from now. And inflation, by any metric, the price of housing, the price of food, the price of gas, just about everything, the price has gone up. And so you've lost value, you've lost purchase power with that cash. And so right now is a great time, even with the inflationary factors going on and the inflationary pressures and the potential economic downturn that we're facing, especially caused by inflation. You actually get more bang for your buck in that sense, and you're putting your money to work in that Roth, because you have those advantages of tax purposes, tax advantages, not paying taxes on the profits. Also, and as long as you wait until you're 59 and a half to take that money out, unless for those certain reasons, and I'll explain that in the Roth, the beauty of the Roth, reasons why you could take money out and not face a tax penalty. But you're going to have compound interest. You're also buying right now at a discount, and you also have something called dollar cost averaging. And if you buy at a lower price, and you consistently buy, even if you buy at a higher price, you consistently do that month after month over the years, you have an average lower price. And so there's a number of advantages there. And then that other big question about inflation: is now a good time to get started with the Roth, with some kind of investment vehicle such as a Roth? Yes, the answer is yes. And even in light of inflation, because if you just leave that money in the bank, you just leave that money in a certificate of deposit, a CD, leave that money under your couch cushion, leave that money wherever it is, in some kind of, even a high yield banking account, savings account, you're not going to have as much purchasing power as you could get with the index funds that I'm going to recommend you get into, and even potential individual stocks. But I'm going to recommend index funds that are tied and aligned with the S&P 500, and I'll give you those specific funds. And the idea there is, why leave that money laying around and lose purchasing power with that? Why not let that money work for you and growing tax-free? Put that into a Roth, for example, or some kind of investment vehicle, an investment fund, and then you don't have to worry about the inflation losing that value. You put that money away, put that money to work for you. So yes, now is a good time to get started. I'll go into details in the next video about starting the Roth and some more specific advantages and kind of the beauty, what I call the beauty of a Roth. And the same ideas apply to a number of other vehicles and instruments for investment. So until the next time, be peaceful.